Hello everybody, welcome back to another light novel review. Today I am talking about volume number 1 in Hiro Ainana's light novel series, Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody, volume number 1. Brand new series just released in the month of January from Yen On. Also just, I guess, it's kind of cool because we're actually getting this one before it's received an anime adaptation. It was actually just announced in December that there's going to be an anime based on this series, so it's kind of cool to be at least a little bit ahead of the curve there. There are 9 volumes of this released in Japan. The 9th one was just released in December of 2016, so at least we're not 20 volumes behind. So let's get into this book. So we have our main character who goes by the username of Sato. He is a late 20s game programmer. He's working for this small company that is currently undermanned, understaffed. He's on a mad crunch. He's actually having to program 2 games at once because the other guy who was supposed to be working on the programming of the other game quit because of the stress. And so he is on what is called a death march, which basically is like going hours and hours and hours at work, no sleep, not even leaving, eating crappy food, the whole kind of 9 yards. With sheer exhaustion after finally finishing the coding, he crawls under his desk to grab a nap. And when he wakes up, he finds himself in a new world, in a world where it seems to operate with a mixture of the mechanics of the 2 different games that he was working on, leading him to assume that it must be a dream. But as he progresses, things just seem way too real and way too complicated to be anything but a new reality. So once again, we find ourselves with a light novel about a dude from modern day Japan dragged into a fantasy world. And even on top of that, we have a main character who seems to have game mechanics also at play. He has a storage space that only he can access. He has a map. He has sort of a pop-up display that shows him information about the people that he focuses on and so forth. So we have a mixture of gaming mechanics drawn into another world. I would say right away that this novel reminded me a hell of a lot of The Rising of the Shield Hero in terms of how the character learns new skills, the way that sort of the game mechanic of it works and how he describes it. It's very, very similar. So if you've been reading that series, I think you'll find that this one is... It has a lot of the same stuff. It even has him teaming up with some slave girls that are demi-humans, meaning that they have somewhat animal characteristics. So there's nothing a lot that's new in this book. So if you're looking for something fresh and something completely different, this is not the place to start. It has pretty much all the things that we've had in a bunch of other light novels. Even the fact that our main character Sato is, well, he's kind of OP as hell. I mean, there's really no other way to get around it. He's pretty much like Kirito in the fact that he could probably school damn near anybody in this world. I think the only thing that kind of makes it interesting in his case is that he realizes he's OP. He realizes that it's almost a cheat because he's a game programmer. And the thing is that he really doesn't know what a lot of the things are. And he's almost afraid to access some of the stuff because, well, it could be really dangerous, not just for him, but for people around him. And he is aware of the fact that he's an outsider in this world and that by doing too much damage or maybe even being seen as being too powerful, he could end up becoming a villain or become hunted by the people of this world. So we know he's OP, so it sort of takes that worry out of it that he might actually get hurt. So, I mean, it kind of lowers the stakes of the book a bit, but at the same time, you kind of sit there and wonder, how's he actually going to do something to help a situation without getting himself revealed or doing way more damage than what's necessary and potentially getting innocent people caught up in it. I'd say the biggest appeal of this book that I found was, first of all, some of the titles that he gets, some of the stuff that he gets, sound really awesome and really cool and kind of mysterious. So I was kind of curious about how are those things going to play out as the series progresses. And the world building I thought was kind of cool. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's overly unique, but there is sort of this concept that there are heroes of legend who have been summoned to this world, and that he begins to suspect maybe people that are similar to himself that were brought from our world into this one. There is a bit of like gamer speak because, of course, he is a game programmer. The weird thing is that when he's dragged into this world, instead of being 29 or, late 20s, he actually is in the body of a 15-year-old boy. And I'm guessing they did that because he is surrounded by girls that are everywhere from, like, say, 11 up to 17. So they didn't want it to be super creepy, like, ooh, look at the 30-year-old dude hanging out with elementary school kids. So yes, I mean, there is sort of an element of lolly harem to this. There is sort of an element of just harem in general. So, I mean, not all the girls are underage, but wow, a vast majority of them are. So, in general, with Death March to a Parallel World, it is not anything unique. It's not anything that is different from what we've seen before. Some of the ways that the mechanics are combined are a little bit interesting. There's enough world building that I kind of found it fun, particularly like the beginning of the book is sort of like his introduction to the world, obviously, and figuring out how he's going to live and all this kind of stuff. The back half of it is much more like a dungeon crawler, which I have to say I kind of enjoyed because I haven't had, like, even, how to pick up girl. Is it right to pick up girls or is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Even in that series, considering that dungeon's in the title, we haven't spent a lot of time dungeon crawling. So it was kind of cool to do at least a little bit of dungeon crawling. That seemed at least a little bit different. I don't know how much that's going to play out in the series as we go. So again, not a super unique novel. A couple of bits that were fun. A couple of nice little ways that typical components are combined. It was an easy breezy read, particularly, like I said, I got into the whole dungeon sort of crawling towards the end, particularly when we're introduced to lesser powered characters and we actually are seeing their development and sort of seeing the relationship that's building between Sato and these other characters. That's where the book, I think, really kind of picked up for me, and I, ended up enjoying it in the end. And I'll probably pick up volume number 2. Like I said, it's not anything unique. If you hate the Summoned to Another World, not the one for you. If you hate harems, particularly lolly type harems, you might want to give this one a pass. But if you're looking for another Summoned to Another World and you want to give it a try, particularly, like I said, if you're a fan of The Rising of the Shield Hero, it's not quite the same, but there's certainly enough in common that you'd probably like this one as well. So those are my thoughts on volume number 1 of Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. My next review is going to be on volume number 1 of the Kubi-Kiri cycle by Nishio Ishin. It's Decapitation. Just the title, Decapitation. I don't know. It's about a murder on an island, and we're going to see how that turns out. I'm kind of interested to see how this one is, especially when I just finished reviewing Bakemonogatari just a couple videos ago. Gonna see how much of this just ends up to be talking heads, how much is action, particularly that this is being applied more to like a mystery type theme as opposed to the supernatural of the Monogatari series. So we'll see how this one turns out in the next video. So if you like what I do here, don't forget to hit like on this video. If you're brand new, subscribe to the series so that you can check out all of my future light novel reviews. And if you want to check out my old ones, I've got links to those as well. So thanks very much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, bye-bye for now.